Okay, cool.
Kind of, ish.
So, what exactly? Tell our viewers what exactly is the order?
Well, the order specifically is a group of individuals that all enjoy studying different metaphysical concepts amongst the occult, as well as we, well, basically, we're a support net for um, other individuals that are in the order. And we also have a pretty free reign of experimentation going on between everyone else. And, one member's projects become the rest of the members' project as time goes on.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like, what projects are you working on right now?
Right now, we've actually been working on having a more public face. We've just been trying to find ways that we can experiment and collect data that is empirical and somewhat non-biased. Uh, Basically, so that we can actually start going out and proving that, hey, we're doing work here. We're figuring out that this whole metaphysical thing could actually make some sense. Uh, Listen up if you want to.
Okay, so what? So you're just collecting data on what? On the paranormal or?
uh, Different occult studies that go along different forms of magic, I suppose, is one way of looking at it. Not all of what we do is considered in the wider scope of things to be quote unquote magic, but it follows the same basic principles. You can't see it working, but it is.
So like energy manipulation and stuff.
Yeah, energy manipulation, just using a variety of different ways to go about it.
Is there anything that the layman can read about any of your current data findings or any of your research at all?
Well, actually, within the next 2 to 3 months, I'm going to have enough data set up from guided meditations over the past month and a half until that time limit ends, so that I'll be able to do some sort of a writing on astral projection and meditation in a group setting.
So what exactly is guided meditation?
Uh, Basically, I have a simplified method that I walk people through while they are meditating. And basically, the simplified method is to force the person doing it to, one, recognize the physical body, two, recognize that the physical body is overlaid by the astral body, three, recognize the veil that rests between the physical and astral realm, what works here, what doesn't work here, that type of thing. And finally, bringing people over to the astral so that they can start their own experimentation. In most cases, I'll be asking people who say they've astral projected to describe something that I've placed there for them to see. Uh, and if they can explain it, cool. If they can't, well, all right.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we've talked to Karma on the show a couple of days ago,
Yes.
and we were talking. We had a bit of fun, and I've been talking to him since. Now, from what I understand, not everyone will go to the same place once they enter the astral. So, if you were to put something down, there's really, I mean, you have like a 1 in 10 chance of them finding it, unless you're guiding them straight to that when they're meditating.
Yes, basically, I'm guiding them to a common area for each session, which is basically dependent on who's in the session, what their range of ability is. Like, I'm not going to purposely set the most elaborate setting for them to meet at if everyone is not as advanced as the best astral projector in the group.
Okay, so basically, it's a class, if you will, just learn teaching people how to do it.
Yeah, it's a simple class just so that you can break through, reach the astral. It helps me out because I'll be able to record whether or not you can see what I've put there. If you can, well, then that's favorable data towards me proving that astral projection in a group setting does in fact work, without front loading statements, of course.
Of course. Now, okay, so this is all very interesting. Now, how would someone get into learning in your courses?
Uh, Honestly, I've posted two threads on X. I have about 25 different email addresses on my email list. It's open signups. If anybody wants to be in, as a matter of fact, they can just go to the thread for this stream and put their emails there. I'll add them to the list.
Okay, well there you go. If anyone wants to know any more about how to astral project, we have a lot more to talk about than that, though. But that's the icing on the cake right there. So yeah, if you ever want to learn from Logan or anyone else in the order, how many other members are there?
At the moment, we have a pretty small core group without keeping it without making it too implicit. How many? But we're always recruiting, and we're actually trying really hard to gain a few more members so that we can widen our scope of talents and what we're working on and all that all the time. So,
well, okay, there we go. So there you go. This is interesting. Now, you don't just do astral projection and energy manipulation, I'm sure.
No. My work has been started actually mostly with sigil manipulation, which then led to a different way of viewing constructs. Basically, instead of just using letters for sigils, like I'm sure perhaps a few people in the chat have heard about, I use computer logic gates. I use hell, there was one time where I got really creative and I was on a fucking Doctor Who kick, so I looked up circular Gallifreyan and made a sigil in circular Gallifreyan, which was just fun. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it, and at the end of the day, as long as it makes sense to you, you can make it work.
So basically, you were testing. So you were just making sigils out of fucking anything.
Yeah, for a while, just to test what would work. And it seems that the constant is as long as you, when you see the sigil, can actually envision the intent of it without any pause, then it will work. If you can't, then it won't. For instance, I don't know how to speak Japanese. Probably a bad idea to make a Japanese sigil.
Exactly. But now this is going to be kind of complicated for me to explain, so just bear with me. But so let's say you write a Japanese symbol, right?
Okay.
And use it as a sigil. Now, you don't know exactly what the character means, but you're connecting that character means that, oh god, we'll just go with the succubus one because everyone knows that. But let's just say that you make this mark and you say, hey, with this mark, I'm going to summon a succubus. And,
okay.
And even though you have no fucking clue what that means, what the actual symbol itself means, it could be the symbol for fucking Christ, and you're using it to summon a succubus, but you don't know that it means Christ. Could you still use it as a way to do it, as long as you connect succubus with this symbol?
Not necessarily. See, every symbol that you know has a mimetic value. Memes, as we all know on the fucking internet, are little packets of information that you repeat over and over and over because they have a certain symbolic meaning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Basically, if I were to use the cross suffix to summon a succubus, that would basically be me saying, I'm going to charge this with everything I know about this symbol beforehand. And that basically just means that you have to have an ability to get off on God worship in order to make it work.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, everything that you take in at any point is, to a certain amount and extent, programming. You are programming yourself to view things differently every day just by the simple words that you're reading on a page, really.
Okay, another hypothetical situation for you.
Yeah.
My favorite drink of all time, my absolute favorite drink of all time is Coke Zero. I drink this thing by the gallons, right?
Okay.
Now, so in that regard, Coke Zero would be what would be the word? It would be a thing of desire for me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we could take this Coke Zero can, if you will, and draw it or whatever. Just use the logo for Coke Zero, and because it's a subject of my own desire, I could put everything that I want, all of my wants into this symbol that I'm drawing on the ground, and I could make something with it, right? I could use it as a sigil.
Your semantics are wrong, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah. How much do you know about meditative state gnosis?
Not a lot.
Okay, fine. Basically, dummy crash course version. You're going to meditate until you reach a state of being that is both boundless and infinite, and you no longer want things, you just sort of will them into being. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm following you.
Now, say that you wanted to use the Coke Zero symbol to get Coke Zero soon in your life. Basically, you would have to sigilize it in some way that the message of "get me a fucking Coke Zero" was being put out to the ethos in such a strong manner that basically causality would affect, and you would suddenly find yourself in a situation where you got Coke Zero. It's one of those things where you can't definitely exact science it, because every day you could say that you're sigilizing intent to get a Coke Zero every time that you have a thought about Coke Zero and then walk to a goddamn vending machine.
That's so fucking interesting.
Like, it's basically... one thing that's really difficult and that people don't get about magic is not meant to substitute life.
Yeah.
It is not. I believe with all certainty that I could, if I had about 3 months prep time at least, and a shit ton of inspiration and emotion into it, I could probably make a thought form that would walk into my calculus class and take my calculus exam. That would be great.
Right.
Or I could just study for 2 fucking weeks and go in and take the calculus exam. If you're trading off practicality for occultism, then you're just doing it wrong. It's the spice of life, not the replacement thereof.
Okay, so anyone that said, no, that makes perfect sense, because I've heard and talked to a lot of people who seem to think that they can simplify their life with magic, not necessarily.
You can simplify it greatly. You just can't stop living it. That's the part that a lot of people get wrapped up in. That's why we get a bad rap as role players on other forums. It's because basically, to an extent, there are going to be people out there that over-idolize it and turn it into a life-altering habit rather than a life-enhancing habit.
Well, like, what people have you come across? Have there been people that wanted to join your order that was like, teach me how to do this, and then they weren't happy with it?
Yes, we've definitely had some order members come in, and then they really just didn't get what they wanted out of learning about the occult, or we didn't have the right resources at the right time to help them learn about what they wanted to learn, and they up and left before. Yeah,
that's a shame. That is always a shame. But I have a couple more questions, but I'm thinking, since we've already been talking for 20 minutes, which is amazing, because we haven't ever had that happen before. But maybe we should take just a quick little music break, let people keep coming in. But when I come back, I've got some serious questions to ask you that may or may not make any goddamn sense whatsoever. I know that you and I will be able to talk about the quantum physics behind magic, but I don't know if we can put it in layman terms for some other viewers. So,
dummy it down. Do that.
But we'll try it. It's going to be great fun. And Logan, I do appreciate you coming on the show. It's going to be this is going to be one of the funnest spooky times we've had thus far.
Absolutely. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll be back with Logan in just a minute. For now, we're going to go back to our regular music for about 10-15 minutes of an organization called The Order. Logan, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Just one second.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Take your time. Anyway, so he's talking to us a little bit about what the organization does, what they stand for, and basically how they do stuff. So there's that. Anyway, Logan,
Yes.
I had some personal questions. So I have known some people in the time
Yes.
that they called themselves. Well, she called herself a goddess of the moon. Now,
Okay.
uh, as far as other kin go, do you guys have anything in your? I guess we'll call it just the organization that actually deal with other kin.
Well, to put it a certain way without actually drawing any attention to specific individuals, we have an open theory on reincarnation that is shared by multiple members of the order, but not necessarily all. Under this model, you could say that perhaps other kin are plausible.
So, I mean,
So yes, we do have some sort of a community, but not necessarily the largest, and not airing anyone's dirty laundry, of course.
of course, of course. Now, so other kin are plausible. How so? How is the thinking on that going?
Okay. Basically, the idea is that reincarnation is basically every life teaching you something that you have to learn before you move on to the next life. Uh, in a very Hindu sense. Beyond that, what you could extrapolate from that belief is that perhaps in order to learn the most lessons, you are required to live lives that aren't entirely human in order to learn different things that you would not otherwise have been able to learn. So, at some point, I could have been a cat. At other points, you might have been a tree. It really all depends on where your path led, where your energy signal sort of split off and did its own thing and evolved on its own, separate from the rest of the massive interconnected consciousness. You know?
Yeah, no, I get you. So, I mean,
Okay.
as far as being a deity, though, is that? I mean, we obviously can't confirm nor deny any kind of deity. I mean, as far as I believe, everything can exist. So, and I've dealt with some shit. So,
There has actually been a time where I dealt with Jupiter concerning one of our order members that is no longer in the order. I thought that he was a pretty interesting fellow.
I can imagine. So,
Certain deities have proven to work more consistently than others in my practice, so I could say that you should probably experiment a lot using different symbol tactics and different ritual tactics in order to draw them out before you completely disregard their existence.
fair enough. Fair enough, and that's a good thing. Now, see, something that always bothered me about her was this is where it gets weird. Like she was this was God. This must have been like 5 years ago, but we were just hanging about, and it was as clear as fucking day outside. And she was like, "Do you want it to rain?" And I said, "Sure, let's have it rain." And so she, like you said, she drew some weird symbol on the ground and did a chant, and then it started raining. So now, as far as I'm concerned, I've always thought magic was just in the astral and metaphysical planes. But is there some magic that could cause a giant rainstorm, I guess?
Okay, two answers. One of which extremely simple, one of which no. Okay? The simple answer is going to be that yes, that type of magic could exist. Okay?
Okay.
The complex answer is really, when it comes down to it, it really hinges on what you believe you're doing when you invoke a god. Sorry. For instance, my personal belief is that when you're invoking different deities, different forms that are accepted by the masses to have existed in some way, shape, or form, you are tapping into a total amount of directed human energy that creates what is called a god form based on the tenets that the followership creates. So basically, you are using sigils from a chaos standpoint on a massive scale, drawing in energy from sources that are not just you and are not just people who share your beliefs.
So basically, they're a magnet for any kind of energy.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is kind of a philosophical question, I guess, but is belief and faith in and of itself a very strong energy? Because she seriously believed that she was the goddess of a moon. So
I'm going to say that belief and faith, as far as I have tested, have never proven to be a very strong source of energy.
that's interesting.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that thousands of believers in the Christian God don't somehow make the Christian God exist. As a matter of fact, I think that that's quite true.
Yeah.
But also, it took... Damn. This cold. Sorry, the Midwest.
That's all right.
It took a lot of concentrated belief over a very long time to create that presence where such a god form could be thought to exist now.
So basically, now if there are any Christians in this room, I'm sorry for this, but you know what you're getting into.
Yes, so, and I'm being very respectful. I mean, I am an atheist, but I'm not going to stomp on your beliefs.
Yeah, so basically, it's very plausible that that the Christian God is just a giant thought form, and that, as well as that, any other kind of God. Or is that out there?
No, I think that that's plausible, yes. One thing that I've had brought up to me in the sidebar here by one of our order members is actually that from another standpoint, even if the god is not necessarily a working deity, as in something that is actually sentient and in some way controlling of its actions, the amount of mass energy being poured in by belief could actually be manipulated by someone who, say, knew the true hidden meaning behind a sigil that was used to represent a deity, and
Sorry about that. We had a quick thing. Someone might be trying to DDoS us again, but I don't know. If you all can hear me now, just let me go. Just let me know if you can hear us.
Hello.
There we go. Okay, cool. We're back on. But so all right. So that's I don't that makes me think that maybe no, this is just my own nerdism right here.
Yes.
So there's possibly an Odin somewhere in the universe or multiverse.
You know, I'm just going to answer that for you now. There's definitely a motherfucking Odin.
That's so badass. I love that. I fucking love that.
When's the last time that you went outside and met a couple of fucking ice giants? No, that is proof of Odin right now.
I love it. Love it. That is awesome. But yeah, so thought forms, they're most definitely a thing.
Oh yeah, thought forms are definitely a thing. They exist on different levels, though. There are psychological thought forms and metaphysical thought forms.
Aren't psychological thought forms just basically imaginary friends?
Yes, generally tulpa.
Yeah. I've had my run-in. I could tell my story, but I'm not going to.
It's okay. I've run in with a few funny people that had a few funny tulpas that they swear to God they made for intercourse, but some people are just crazy. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
No, it's not that. It's that if you were ever on X while Rake Guy was around.
Oh, yeah.
That's me.
Oh, God.
I'm Rake Guy. Now, look, I know a lot of people here, like, tell me that the rake's not real or whatever, and it wasn't a tulpa in the end. It was a stupid fairy. But I hate fairies. Let me just tell you that, because I still have a hard time admitting that they exist. I,
It, everything can exist, therefore, it's not for any of us to actually doubt the existence.
I
Just
know,
take it in.
I know, but I mean, I have to admit it to a degree because after I ended up getting rid of that thing, any like now I don't know if a lot of my viewers know this or not, but my I've been an empath most of my life, like a really good empath. Like I've made a lot of people do a lot of stuff. I've stopped that now, but after I ended up getting rid of the rake, all that crap went fucking ridiculous, and I can do so much more. And I like to attribute that to because I killed the rake, but I don't know, to be completely honest. I really don't know, and it's just something you seem to be knowledgeable. What would your take be on that? I killed a fairy, and suddenly all of my stuff is like amazing. What would you say happened there?
I would suggest that perhaps you were contacted in a metaphysical sense by an entity that wanted to feed off of certain energies generated by human emotion. Therefore, the thing sent you something that would derive fear from your consciousness, therefore, it could feed. It was a predatory instinct followed by an action followed by your defense. When it comes down to it, completely plausible. It, it's not necessarily clear whether or not the thing was a fairy, as you're claiming, or whether or not it was just some random etheric being that actually had the ability to manipulate you in such a way.
Generally, I would agree with you, but the thing was a physical thing. Like, it was physical. I've posted pictures with it with a shoe on its head.
Like the thing was actually a thing? Okay.
The thing was actually a thing.
Okay.
Like, you could touch and feel the thing.
Since I've seen no pictures and I have no proof, I'm going to take your word on that. And
I'll probably post it.
My thoughts on it are still basically the same, even if it was a physical thing. It could have just been, again, a very, very strong manifestation of the predatory instinct of something that was roaming around you.
That actually makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. That makes a lot of sense. I'll tell my story at some other time because everyone always wants to hear it. But that's not what we're here for today. Let's talk about the quantum physics behind magic, because this is very interesting to me. So, let's start off with your theories on how magic works, because I've got my own, but I want to hear yours first.
Okay, well, basically, all matter started out in some sort of condensed form. So, from a baseline standpoint, we're all basically, as the quote goes, composed of stardust. When you break that down into what's actually going on here, we are legitimately spawned from a chemical reaction that happened in the primordial ooze way back when that created the first amino acid. Because we are all connected by that fundamental basic truth that has been very well proven by science, I would say that we all draw from the same collective force of energy slowed down to create life. I know,
it gets hard to say.
I'm not sure where to go from there. Okay, how about this? Basically, being connected by that single strand of energy over ages and centuries of evolution and change and mistakes and growth, we've gained the ability at this point, via consciousness, to electromagnetically influence the things that are going on around us at an anatomic and molecular level. Therefore, when you're dedicating a certain amount of brainwave energy towards a dedicated result, then the world will, in some way, naturally form to your desires based on the requests made, the effort put forth, and the accuracy of your desire and how you put it forth.
Okay, so yours is actually a lot similar to my theory. My theory is that, and I'm trying to figure out how to explain this properly, but basically everyone has a different reality, right? So what you perceive as reality is completely fucking different from what I perceive, right? Now, magic is the ability to enter into another person's reality and fuck with it.
Well, yes, but you're fucking with it by still also affecting causality in some way. You're not necessarily fucking directly with their timeline. You're fucking with a timeline that's like up and to the right of it, that's kind of connected to it. You're setting a group of motions forward rather than just the action that you wanted.
So, but, damn. So basically, it's not so much that you're entering their reality as much as it's you're merging with them, or how does that work?
I suppose that would be an accurate description at this juncture, actually. In some way, you are actually merging your causality loop that causes you to exist and then exist again and then exist again. Well, yeah, you're just kind of tying your causality loop in with theirs and then creating change based on the outcome of both.
Okay, well, that actually kind of enlightens me a bit. So basically, as far as magic goes in the scientific sense, which I never thought we would talk about it that way, but it's just
It's just metaphysical concepts spanned over a more esoteric background.
Wow, that is blowing you're blowing my mind, man. You got to stop that. My mind, it's on the walls right now. Holy shit. Okay, so what about... We'll just go back to that whole rain scenario that happened earlier. What happened there?
When your friends ended up creating rain, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, well, she felt some sort of strong attachment to, one, obviously, the element of water, and two, most likely, the element of air.
Yeah.
Now, I say those, which are very, very esoteric terms, but overall, what that really means is you have a good concept of what's going on inside your body and how that reflects the external, because your body is mostly water. And also, the same thing, because you're breathing the air constantly, you can teach yourself to feel some sort of kindredness with it by understanding that connection on some deep level. So your friend probably was very in tune with her energies and how they were actually affecting the world around her. Or, on a completely unrelated note that could debunk the entire thing, she's one of those people that just knows when it's gonna fucking rain.
That's true. That is possibly very true if we were to just call her a complete bullshitter, which I had quite often. But that's awesome. All right, so let us move on for a little bit to another subject. Now I know this one's kind of touchy with you, so we'll be a bit careful where we step. But
that's good. I'm not too worried about my emotions on the issue. I feel fine.
Okay, well we'll be tactful. So now when we had Karma on this show the other day, he told us about the order, and that's where the interest came in.
Yes.
And we wanted to know why he wouldn't talk to us about it. And so what can you tell us about that?
Well, in the past, if I'm being completely honest, we've been a complete bunch of pretentious pricks. It's not really a secret. The order at this point is something that we call ourselves because it's a uniting term that we've gotten used to, and it's kind of our in-joke at this point.
Yeah.
But we aren't really existing in such a close-minded aspect as we used to. There was once a time when Karma was a member of the order. Things went south with that relationship for reasons that I'm not specifically sure of, because that was kind of a moment when I wasn't as active in the group. And it just created some unneeded animosity. People's feelings got hurt, and they started bitching about it. And unfortunately, it's what happens to a lot of good professional relationships.
So, basically, now don't mind me. This is just me being blunt, as I must. But basically, egos just got in the way.
Yeah, egos got in the way. We couldn't get past the small stuff for long enough to just work together and realize that we both basically have very similar goals.
Yeah.
Now, Karma's teachings? Hell no. Does Karma agree with all of my teachings? Oh, fuck no. That's not happening ever. But honestly, of why I think that people in groups external to us, like him and his group, are very useful. We basically have to have different viewpoints in order for any progress to be made in any sort of experimental aspect. So I'm quite happy that he's around and that he and his group are thriving.
Yeah. And everything, if for nothing else, if in the long run, both what you and Karma is completely wrong, you're teaching people to be better people in the long run anyway.
Yeah, we're not using... I trust everyone in this order that hands out information to do so in such a way that is constructive to the individual they are speaking to. If your interest is to manipulate or harm them, you're doing it wrong and you need to stop. I cannot speak for Karma and his group because I don't know them and we don't have that type of relationship where I can be sure of that. But I have to assume that they're being altruistic and they're not altogether bad people because they're doing this sort of work, and this sort of work does lead to a form of enlightenment that forces you to be empathic to other people's needs.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't really say that nothing is, because I am an empath, though. So, anyway, all right. So, moving along. What else have you guys done in the order? What besides energy constructs and the astral? What else have you taught people?
Oh, well, as far as my work goes, that would be the biggest portion my expertise. Outside of that, we've also had a small thelemic community for a bit that is hopefully going to grow soon with the introduction of a few new members that we're interviewing. But basically, esoteric studiers of the thelemic Liber that are the giant of magic teachings that are both the concrete and passive meanings of that particular dogma.
So, what is... I'm sorry. This is just me being retarded. But what is esoteric? I can't even say the word.
Yes. I've been corrected. I shouldn't have said Liber. I should have said Libri, as is the plural. But esoteric being hidden... What? One moment.
Okay. We can actually take this as a quick break to listen to some music. So we'll go ahead and listen to some music. And then when we come back, we'll finish off this conversation. And all that... All of this information is freaking awesome. I love it. I love this job. Ridiculous and just awful thing you could possibly say.
Skeletons can't be proven to exist inside a human body. The only ones we find are outside human bodies. Come on, bro.
Seriously. Okay. Alright, so. Sorry, I had to have some fried rice. This stuff is delicious. So we're back. Right. We're back. Probably got about 30 more minutes, and then eventually we'll bring viewers in.
Oh, wunderbar.
Yeah, you'll have some listener questions in a bit, or remote. I've always wondered. I wonder if anyone has listened to us and remote viewed me at the same time. That would
probably.
No, that's like that would be awkward. I wouldn't
That's
like
not
that.
awkward at all. I mean, unless you're like naked at the computer right now, that'd be
It
totally awkward.
it has been. I won't lie. I have gotten out of the shower once and had to fix something on the radio. So yeah, I'm currently not naked though. Thank you. I'm quite comfortable in my jeans and really bad Walmart T-shirt. I'm quite comfortable. Anyway, So let us get back to to the things that we should be talking about, as opposed to if I'm clothed or not. So sigils and quantum mechanics being used as a shield. A shield for what exactly?
Uh, well, really, the shield's multi-purpose. It can shield you against whatever you want. So when it comes down to it, it's all about the intent that you use, the direct message that you send with your sigils, and how you correlate them together and how they come together as one unit. Okay?
So I mean, could it protect you against heartbreak?
It could protect you against being a puss,
Oh, well.
but it's not going to protect you against having your heart broken because that's a human emotion and you're not a fucking cyborg. So deal with it.
I want to be a cyborg. I mean,
Well, don't do that.
would you not want your brain in a robot body?
I'm kind of attached to my brain being in an actual flesh and blood body right now, and I'm going to continue doing that.
I would put my brain in a fucking robot tiger, but hey, that's just me. I'd have saw blades instead of claws. But hey, whatever.
Hey, whatever. I'm going to go build my own robots with cocaine and hookers. Shut up.
Dude, don't joke about that. Don't. I want that. I want cocaine hooker and robot body with a piston dick. Like it would. Anyway, so back on topic. So, so psychic vampires. Would those really protect against those?
You could, in theory, yes, make a shield that would be very distasteful to psychic vampires, yes.
Well, now there's a lot of things. I've had a vampire or a psychic vampire hunter come on the show once, and he said
What?
he hunted them, and he very much thought that they were evil creatures. Now, since I've had Rod on the show, I've talked to a couple of other people, you and Karma included, that have both said that they're not all evil. So,
Well, it's not really so much of a whether or not they are evil, so much as it's basically like me walking up to any other person on the street and saying whether or not they're evil.
I mean, I suppose so. I mean,
Yeah,
it's within their nature, right?
no, definitely not. Their nature is not directly evil because they have the ability to leech off of the life force of others.
No, that's what
Now-
I'm saying. Is it's just within their nature that they have to feed that way.
Yeah, they just do what they do because it's how they're wired. It's again, like I was saying with the rake thing earlier, it is a predatory manifestation of their instincts. It is, without a doubt, a defensive mechanism made to help them survive in some shape or form that evolved over time.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Rod. He was a hunter in Peru who, I guess, he ran into the worst kind of psychic vampire. She fed off of all of his emotions and constantly left him drained and tired. Never
Sounds
gave
like an ex-wife.
right? And it was his girlfriend too. Oh God. Anyway, so he ended up killing her. So
Oh, good. I'm glad that this ended in homicide. It really needed to go there.
But see, the thing is, he now travels around all of Peru, taking care of psychic vampires. So, I mean, he's possibly a serial killer.
He's most definitely, if he's not bullshitting you completely, a serial killer, and more likely he's some pissed off boy toy who got
Yeah,
some bitch. All right.
I kind of have to agree with you on some parts, but he was also he worked with shamans in his local village, so there's that too.
Oh yes, because My opinions on this are not going to be towards the effect that he should be hunting psychic vampires.
I know.
There's never going to be a way you can convince me of this.
No, and I know, and I mean, I know other people who think that psychic vampires are just monsters, and it just goes along with that whole, I guess, human egotism.
Well, yeah, naturally, if we find something that is a predator and we perceive it to be a better predator.
Troubles with my computer for a while now. I gotta get me a new Ethernet cord. Anyway, so was that a poltergeist? Was that an Oogie Boogie?
No, that was a child playing with something and failing terribly.
So yeah, it's an Oogie Boogie.
Yeah, it's an Oogie Boogie.
Okay, no, but also, so besides the shielding of basically anything, right? Anything that isn't
anything
physical?
anything that can exist can be shielded against. Now, anything that can exist and can think for itself can also get through shields. So,
well,
obviously, dependent on the threat, you're going to have to shield harder.
So, now, is there any way to make it to where it's an impenetrable shield?
Yes. Become extremely old, all-knowing, and powerful. Go.
Wow. So,
Like, I'm sorry, but unless you've been through every single contingency and you think that you've met everything that there is out there, you can't make an impenetrable shield. Something's always going to get through.
yeah.
It just depends on if it got through because you fucked up the programming or it got through because you did it right, it just decided to overpower the programming.
Okay. Dude, I'm waiting for the day. I'm waiting for the day, long into the future, where we are sitting at a fucking magical keyboard programming this shit. That would be awesome.
Well, I mean, you could technically do that now. It's all about the user interface you use. Like, say you wanted to create such a shield, you could go astral, visualize it, put it in place around the boundaries of your home, and voila, creation.
Oh yeah.
It
It would be cooler to do it in the physical realm though, and have it affect both realms.
okay. I can see what you mean, but
I know.
until we find plasma shields,
Hey,
I'm not going to be happy with it.
we're getting there, believe it or not.
You know what? I'll accept that. Science is doing amazing things every day. So,
I mean, we already have thought-controlled robots.
but yeah.
That's so good. Oh god, we're almost there, people. Eventually, there will be cyborgs and sex androids and sex
Oh my god!
androids.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I know sex
I-
androids.
I feel the android succubus jokes just coming on.
What sucks will be there will probably be some crazy Japanese guy that takes his sex android and makes it into a succubus looking thing.
Probably. Why? Because succubi are hot.
Yeah, I would have to admit, I would if I didn't know the dangers of doing so. I'd fuck a succubi.
Well, I mean, yeah. Like, if I met like a physical succubi, I probably wouldn't fuck around with them because like AIDS. But at the same time, if there was one that was going all astral and was like, "Hey, I want to make you orgasm without you having to do anything." Oh, really? Thank you. Please, feel free. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I want that. Yeah. Let's-
Yes, I want that.
Most definitely. Okay, well, this is getting weird. Anyway, so let's talk about blood magic. Now,
Okay, blood magic is basically using human vitae to charge a spell.
no,
that can be used with the help of demons or a quote-unquote demonic presence, or it can be done with the simple knowledge of metaphysics and sigils and understanding that the blood that you're using could be, say, from an individual that you want affected, therefore it's going to resonate well with their energy.
Interesting. Now, see, because I always thought that these things like blood magic, I always thought was just fake. Like, I mean, I know that in the realm of what we're talking about, not a lot is fake, but I always thought that blood magic was just like meh.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't use it.
I think a lot of people would.
There are easier ways for me to get around that situation.
True.
If I really, 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 really need to direct my energy at someone, I'll just get a picture of them.
So, I mean, what is the general purpose of blood magic then? If it's so complicated, is there any kind of benefit to it whatsoever?
Well, yes, absolutely. Everything has its own benefit intrinsically. The effects of blood magic are basically the same effects that you could achieve otherwise, but you are calling upon god forms that exist within human dogma, as well as you are calling upon the basic ability to wire someone's metaphysical energy, their causality, if you will, tie that back to the conversation earlier, and tie it to a certain sequence of events. It's just another way to the same road.
Okay, well, all right. I've always wanted to know, like, is there an all-powerful kind of magic? I guess it's the only way I can say it.
Oh, I'm very, very, very biased, and so I cannot answer that because...
Well, let's hear your bias. What, in your opinion, is the most powerful kind?
In my opinion, I think that the most powerful is being able to go astral, create a weaponized form of something that you want to use, say, as a combative or defensive quote-unquote spell, and then afterwards you would use sigilized intent to charge a form that you had already made, that you had already imagined and constructed on the astral plane. By doing that, you already have an intent, a target, and for all better purposes, a gun to load said intent and target into and fire. It just takes the guesswork out of it. You don't actually have to sit there and pray to your god and hope that they freaking hear you or hope that your dogma proves right. You can just create the change that you want to see and do it.
That's pretty cool. I might eventually try this out, but it sounded pretty Outlaw Star the way you were saying it. If anyone gets that reference, I won't feel so much like a nerd. Anyway, so...
You get the reference, so you're good.
Okay, cool. But you're also named after Wolverine, so...
I am. But also, on the subject of that last question, one of the Order members wants to chime in that the most powerful / all-powerful magic would be that which suits each individual perfectly, using a compilation of their different forms, ideas, concepts, and beliefs. It's something that feels more intuitive to you than it does feel like a practice.
Okay, that can make sense. Now, the reason I actually asked you that question is because I have heard in countless places, mind you, of magics that go outside the realm of other magic. Like, for instance, like you buy into the multiverse theory, correct?
Yes, one universe existing in a multiple infinitum of other universes.
Yeah, basically. Well, there's a theory going around now. I'm not going to name any names, but there's a theory going around with some of my friends. We'll just call them friends. That there's magic like blood magic, sigil magic, all this other magic that me and you have been talking about this entire conversation is this dimension's magic, if that makes sense. Whereas there's maybe another universe where an entirely different set of rules work, right?
Well, yeah, it's again based in the quantum mechanical model. If it cannot happen in this realm, then you cannot create magic with it. If it can happen in this realm, then you can create magic with it.
Exactly. Now, here's why I was bringing all this up. So, there's a form of magic, a form of energy manipulation that I've been. How do I put this nicely? I've been opened up to, I guess, where it kind of works as like a back door to all magics that we've been talking about. Now, I don't exactly know how to use it, and it's kind of way too complicated for me to understand completely. And I've kind of given up on on doing any kind of paranormal stuff for the most part. I'll do a little bit of, like we discussed earlier, soul searching or soul surfing and my empathy and all that stuff. But besides that, like, I have noticed, and I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna regret saying it, but it's basically like Fey magic. I hate my life, but stuff that I've been looking at around that, it works as backdoors. Like, I know of some people who, no one that I've talked to recently, but there has been some people that I've known in the past month or two that was really powerful in what he did, and he could go into people. He basically could make people do stuff for him, kind of like power of suggestion to the extreme, like charisma plus 10. And he kept trying to do it on me, and it had never failed before. And he couldn't do it to me for some reason. I don't know why. I don't even know if it would even be called Fey magic, but I mean, that's
well, there are two things that I can say here. Okay? One, I hate Fey magic.
Me too.
It's gonna go out there and say that.
Me too.
Fucking hate Fey magic. If you are a Gardenian Wiccan and you are listening to this broadcast, I am laughing at you. Constantly. And you can do nothing about that, because that's just how I view your beliefs. I am sorry. Besides that, you basically also have to go with the theory of the sleeper syndrome. Okay?
What's that?
In such a universe where someone's beliefs and their will can force things into existence, then easily you could also say that someone's lack of belief and lack of will, or rather their will towards a simplified and bland existence, could shield them in a way, because they are constantly reaffirming the reality of their own state.
So you're saying I wasn't affected because I wasn't in the Matrix anymore?
No. I'm saying you weren't affected because he was a Gardenian.
No, but he wasn't.
I know. That's a joke. But I'm also saying that if you reaffirm that this cannot happen enough when meditating upon yourself and your own state, then you are, for all intents and purposes, putting forth an effort of will that is directly combative to the initial effort of will that was used in the working of magic. Basically, you could kill a spell without meaning to, just because you were there thinking, oh, this is fucking ridiculous, in the middle of the ritual.
Huh. That makes that... so, I mean, would magic affect someone who doesn't even care enough about it? Like, say you didn't even talk to a person.
See, now, it depends. Can magic affect them directly? Probably not. It would take a pretty strong manifestation of something that, well, actually, if they didn't care, then they were neither affirming or disaffirming the existence thereof. So, they would more than likely be affected because they're exerting absolutely no towards the idea.
Yeah.
If they were a staunch disbeliever, then less likely because they have absolute faith in their opinion that it cannot happen. Therefore, they reaffirm that it cannot happen, and that creates a defensive shield around them. In some cases, however, the person either will, one, believe that they're being affected by magic and therefore strengthen the effects because of their own psyche, or B, the person will not believe they are affected by magic, but that they are met with a force so strong and so powerful that it is able to reaffirm reality, overriding, in a sense, their self-affirmations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense, actually. Thank you for that.
Good, wonderful. I'm sorry, that was a rather contorted way to go about explaining.
Nah, you're good. You're good, man. Now, hey, this is something that was actually sent to me on Halloween. So, I mean, it's a bit dated, but only a bit. Anyway, so this is from a girl that actually sent me an email, and I just figured you, as well as all the listeners, will enjoy this story.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go ahead and read this to you all. So here she says, I'm writing this email because I don't have Skype and I want to tell you my story. Well, to start off, I want you to know that my family is very much a part of a coven, and because of that, I've been a part of the occult my entire life. Well, about 5 years ago, my grandmother and mother was doing a ritual of Halloween to start summoning a demon to bind to us. I was immediately against it, but they insisted. That night was the worst of my life. I'm nervous to tell you this event, but I'll tell you what happened in hopes that you won't think this is just some creepypasta story, and so that you can tell your viewers not to mess with this stuff. So we created the coven circle with a couple of other females of other families. We all stripped naked and began the chant. This is where immediately I'm like, what?
No. You see, if they're actually getting naked and they're actually in a circle doing the ritual, they're actually doing it right.
Oh, wow.
Like seriously, if you're not getting naked and like cutting open a cat and reading its entrails, you're not doing the proper old magic methods. You're just a Wiccan.
Well, let's keep going because it gets weird. So, almost as soon as the chant started, I felt wrong. I remember my friend, who we will call Chelsea, held my hand very tightly. She was scared, and I didn't know why. We all stood around the offering we made for the demon and spilled our blood, just about a pint from each of us. We then lit it on fire and waited for the being to manifest. The lights in the entire house went out almost as soon as the fire started to crackle. I was very scared and held onto Chelsea's hand as hard as she held onto mine. The older woman started to chant very loud, and I swear to you, I heard moaning coming from the room. It was dark, but I couldn't see. I was scared, uncomfortable, and wanted it to stop, but I couldn't. After some time of this, the room felt heavy. I now could definitely hear people masturbating, telling the demon to take them, including my own mother. Chelsea started crying, and she let go of my hand. As soon as she did, I heard her scream very loud, very close to my ear. The moaning intensified, as did her screaming. I was crying, but I felt the need to masturbate myself. I didn't, though. I was containing the building need with my fear. When all was said and done, I heard a voice saying, "Come to me, you are one of us now." I screamed and ran out of that dark room. As soon as I did, I was fully clothed, and no one in there was moaning or anything. When I turned around to look at them, my friend Chelsea was dead. Her vagina had been looked like it was split open, and her nipples were ripped clean off. The rest of the coven scorned that she had been so lucky. Her mother didn't even weep for her child, and instead scorned with the rest of them. The remainder of the night was dedicated to chopping up my friend and placing her into a sleeping bag filled with yogurt, which the mother of Chelsea then took home. Since then, I have stopped talking with my mother, and I ran out of the house the next day. Please inform your listeners that the occult, especially dark witches and covens like my family, are the most evil type of magic. I have since been into the green magics and only help and heal people. Thank you for your time. So, what's your take on that?
Oh, The gut instinct in me wants to say copy pasta
I,
because
I did try to search for it because that was my original thing. Uh, the only reason was copy pasta was the sleeping bag and yogurt. Which, if you have been on X and seen the deep web threads, there's actually an entire thing on how to kill someone, chop them up, put them in a sleeping bag, put them in the hole in the ground, and they'll be gone within like a day, and you're scot free. So there's that, and there's also a couple of other things, but it's a good story regardless.
I don't know. It's a good story, and it does outline a few clear points that you can learn from it, even if it is not entirely true. Um, First of all, be careful what you accept into your life, because if you accept it into your life and if you decide to accept it as normal, you are allowing it to affect you, and you are allowing yourself to be required to play by its rules. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Past that, uh, acid is one hell of a drug.
Yeah, I actually thought
Uh,
maybe the offering they had some drugs in it.
yeah, and then probably the third basic point would be, um, this is why you don't get mixed up with people who are fanatical followers of demons. Yes, not all demons are bad, but also on the other side, a lot of fanatical followers of anything are bad.
Yeah.
Just by the ideal that they are too blinded by their own faith and their own actions to understand consequence past their realm. Uh, it's really, really hard to find a fanatic that comes from a good standpoint anymore.
Yeah.
So, whether or not the